book of Job. We're chapter 20, and we're just about halfway through. And Eliphaz has had 2 shots at Job. Bildad has had 2 shots at Job. And now Zophar, I guess, feels that he's going to be left out if he doesn't get his second shot in at Job. He talks about disquieting thoughts. I think when we have disquieting thoughts, we got to be careful where they're coming from. Are they coming from Satan, or are they coming from God? Is it God trying to prick our conscience and tell us to do something or to not do something? Or is it perhaps a temptation of Satan? So his disquieting thoughts in verse 2 may not at all be coming from the Lord. And he talks about, don't you know these basic things from the very beginning of time? And then he goes on and makes a statement that is absolutely false, which is that the time of prosperity for the evil is short. And we know that's not necessarily true. Don't you know that, he says? Don't you know that the joy of the godless is momentary? Well, that's not true either. We know that lots of times the joy of the godless goes on for quite a long time. And he says, and then they always perish like refuse. Well, that's eventually true, but certainly not normally in the short term. But here's something that he does say that's quite interesting in verse 12. He says, evil is sweet in the mouth, yet it is venom or poison in the stomach, and it slays him. I'm going to come back to that at the very end of this video and embellish that just a little bit, but I think that's a very interesting thought. Verse 12, the evil is sweet in the mouth. It's like venom in the stomach, and it slays him. Then he goes on in verse 19, and he kind of hints at the fact that, well, maybe not even a hint, maybe an outright charge, that very often Job may have oppressed the poor, and his ethics may not have been of the best, and there's no escape for somebody like that. And he goes on and makes it very clear to Job that he believes that a wicked man's part is, as he's described it here, short. Everything is lost, and there's poison in it all, and that's God's portion for man that's wicked. Well, one of the things that I noticed when I went through this was some false theology and some true theology. False theology is the punishment for the wicked is short, and that they're not going to get to enjoy the things that they get from their wickedness, and that's not obviously true. We see that today, that many wicked people just seem to get away with it, and they go on for a long time, and we have to wait till eternity in order for them to get whatever's coming to them. The second thing that he says that I think is absolutely true, that I wanted to embellish a little bit, is to say that the evil is sweet in the mouth, but is poison in the stomach and will destroy you. A long time ago, a very wise pastor said to me, be very careful about temptation. Sin is pleasurable, but sin is short-lived. And anytime you're tempted to sin, ask yourself this question: is this pleasure, this temporal short-term pleasure, worth the risk of the long-term consequences? I think if you were to ask anybody who took advantage of a temptation that was a short-term pleasure, and then looked at the consequences that happened when they were found out, that they would say that Zophar is absolutely right. It's sweet in the mouth when you're first tasting it, but boy, are the consequences devastating venomous poison that destroys the wicked. I think that we have to remember that God sees the long-term picture. And even though the wicked seem to get away with a lot, seem to enjoy a lot, there is going to be a day of judgment. And the temporal pleasure that they may experience is nothing compared to the eternal torment which is yet to come. The judgment, the shame, and the missing out on the best things of all, which is salvation through Jesus Christ and eternal life in heaven. And Zophar had a few things right, but he had an awful lot wrong. And instead of comforting and sympathizing and empathizing with Job, he just continued to add injuries to Job's life, continued to cause him more pain instead of being a comfort and a real friend. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.